Hi, I'm Julie Weber of Liberate Ministries. Today's topic is about Dr. Alveda King. I've had the honor to encounter her several times in my life. In January 2008, I flew to Washington D.C. with the National Silent No More group to share my testimony on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. When I arrived and got checked in, I was escorted to the hotel room to meet others in the group. As more people arrived throughout the day, introductions were made, and there was Dr. Alveda King sitting in the midst, along with other National Silent No More leaders. The national leaders present at this meeting were Georgette Forney, Janet Morana, both co-founders of the National Silent No More Awareness Campaign. Dr. Theresa and Kevin Burke, both authors and co-founders of Rachel's Vineyard Ministries. Father Frank Pavone, National Director, Priests for Life and Missionaries of the Gospel of Life. There were other Silent No More state representatives from across the United States. Anne-Marie Cosgrove, Silent No More Minnesota State Representative, and Debra, Prokop, Silent No More Minnesota Speaker, were both present. Lawyers and U.S. Congress State Representatives, and Norma Roe. As I was listening to all of them plan, I was taken back to a time in my life when my kids were living at home and our family took a business trip to Atlanta, Georgia for my husband Jeff's job. As we traveled to Atlanta, we took a train to visit Dr. Martin Luther King's memorial. Finally, we arrived to the area site the map said to get off at on the subway train. Dr. King's memorial is impactful. His casket is in the middle of a small pool of water with surrounding peaceful turning water. Next to it is a museum sharing his history and some of his life artifacts. There is also a small church next to the museum where Dr. King once pastored. I was most impacted in seeing what he wore and what he carried in his hands as he traveled to Washington, D.C. A suit and a Bible. This is what I felt like sitting there listening to Dr. Alveda King speak. Here I am, dressed up and carrying my Bible to Washington, D.C. Dr. King was there to change the racial laws of humanity, bringing freedom to the Black culture so they could be treated equally with respect globally. I am from the South. I remember the racial laws. I have experienced them personally by growing up with them. I remember one incident, particularly where I was asked to go to the prom with a Black man friend, and the school wouldn't have it. I ended up going to prom with my Caucasian man friend who had caddied a golf tournament all day in the sun. He fell asleep at my table during prom. My Black man friend asked another Black girl to the prom, and she stood him up. It's crazy how we still ended up together at prom and danced together until it was time to go home. I was there in Washington, D.C., sharing my testimony, which has become my story. Due to the results of a law that was passed legalizing abortion on demand, Roe v. Wade. I don't think just anybody can share the effects of this law effectively unless you have experienced an abortion, and I have. People need to understand what it is and not be forced to do it. I am also here with my Bible, sharing what I believe it says about abortion. In some aspects, I feel like Dr. King. He was there speaking out for racial justice, and I'm here looking for abortion justice. We're both in Washington, D.C., looking for justice. A small description if you've never experienced March for Life. This was during the March for Life 2008. We were stretched way out on the front row, lined up together with the National Silent No More group, along with Dr. Alveda King and Norma Roe of Roe v. Wade. I remember walking the cold, long street in silence as we climbed the hill to the Capitol with police on horses swirling around me because of high security. The sounds of many horses' clip-clops echoing out all existence of humanity. The sounds of justice. The lone feeling of speaking out. At the same time, overwhelmingly realizing the value of my testimony. High security all around me, protecting me as I walked to the Supreme Court to share it. Fighting back the roar of the crowds. Briefly, I wondered if Dr. Martin Luther King felt like this, hearing the roar of the crowds, or the lone feeling of speaking out. Now, his niece is here experiencing and hearing all of this. We all ended up being together in our group of sharing our testimonies on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. The people who were there sharing their testimonies were courageous, and it brought healing as I listened to others. I was also amazed and felt privileged to hear Norma Roe and Dr. Alveda King share their testimonials. Norma never had the abortion and was trying to reverse the legal ruling over her life, Roe v. Wade. You can read Norma Roe's testimony in the note. Dr. Alveda King has had 2 abortions, and you can read her testimony linked in the notes. Now I'm attending Substance Church, where Dr. Alveda King's uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King, once spoke at. I attend the historic Wesley location, which is the building where Dr. King spoke along with many other dignitaries. I encourage you to visit the church if you are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Pastor Peter and Carolyn Haas are the lead pastors. Soon thereafter, Dr. Alveda King became the national spokesperson for the National Silent No More organization. During that time, she traveled to Minneapolis, Minnesota to speak at St. Thomas University College of Law and spent some time with the Silent No More Minnesota group. Again, I have the privilege to share my testimony at the event with her present. Today, she is the national spokesperson for Priests for Life, along with being an author, evangelist, and civil rights activist, as she leads her ministry called Dr. Alveda King Ministries. I have listed several links about her ministries. Here are the links. In summary, she is an amazing lady, and I just wanted to introduce you to some of the great things she is doing. Thanks for watching. Always remember to live life liberated.